Hey everyone, welcome to Chicas and Chai. I am so excited because my best friend is finally back in the country after a very emotional work trip. Luce, I know that this has been a long-standing dream of yours to do some field work of this nature. So I'd love for you to just dive deep into your journey, share some stories, tell me about your experiences. But before you do that, I just want to tell you that honestly, from the time that I've met you, you have achieved almost everything that you have set out to do. And I'm very proud of you. You are quite the inspiration.
Stop. You made me cry. I love you and I appreciate you. And I love that we've seen each other on different journeys throughout the last 12 years or so. And yeah, thank you so much. It means so much to me. I went to Mexico in August. And it was a really emotional trip for different reasons. I've always wanted to field work in Mexico. And what field work is, it's really just being on the ground, seeing how the community functions. And you're there usually for different reasons. And the reason I was there was to learn about the journey that migrants face while they make their way to their destination, to their transit points. So I'm just really passionate about it because as a first gen, my parents, we all came to the United States from Mexico when I was extremely young, but I've always felt so close to my culture, and just to go
The root,
back and
yeah.
yeah, to go back and see everything in a different context, way different, and see children and families struggle and their journeys. And at the end of the day, it's not even about politics. It's about just human decency and providing the resources that they need to pursue a better and safer life was really my mission. So carrying their stories, it's hard and it's emotional, but I'm really looking forward to using it for my work.
What was your most difficult moments that you've had on this trip?
I think overall, keeping your sanity. I heard a lot of bad stories, violence, abuse towards women and children, and really being able to come back and be like, okay, I can't look at my notes after coming back to the hotel. I can't talk about it. You have to disassociate a little. I think it's hard, right? Because you're like, how can I go home to a hotel that has clean beds and water? And then I just saw something 5 minutes ago.
I think that when we first met in college, this wasn't your thing, but I feel like this became your dream over time. So how did that happen, and how does this play into being one of your biggest milestones today, even though you've had quite so many?
I didn't know about this type of work. I think I just was like, okay, let me just go to the university. As you probably remember, because I knew you back in the day, I was really passionate about music.
I just remember your music tattoo. So that's what I was
I
about
have
to
a
say. Like,
music
I know
tattoo.
music is very important.
Yeah. And going to college thinking that you're going to do something. I went from doing music to doing like counseling to doing speech
Yeah, I remember
pathology,
speech pathology.
different things. Yeah, different things. And then it just didn't work out for one thing or another. It's cliche to say, but I'm happy it didn't for whatever reason because I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. But I think that's really
Yeah, I
common
think
for
so.
people to switch because I don't think you went to school initially
No.
to be a lawyer.
No, I switched to. We were both on a switching bandwagon together.
It wasn't.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. I went into school as a bio major. Remember that I told you how much I hated science and math, and I was like, I'm in the wrong major. And I was very inspired by my brother's journey. So I think that that's a lot of
I
where that
remember
come from
that.
too. Yeah. And then I was like, yeah, this is just not for me. So I ended up switching majors and telling my parents at the best time ever, Thanksgiving dinner, that, hey guys, not going to be a doctor, FYI, going to be a lawyer. Let's just continue with our food now. I know that you're more well into your career. I'm still at the base of my career. So that's, I think, a differentiation. I'm taking the Texas bar exam, and this will be my second time taking that exam. And it's because I missed it by like 3.5 points, which is really frustrating because now for those points, I have to retake this entire process. And it takes away a lot of time from being a mom, being a wife, and I'm also a full-time employee. And I work at my dream job, so I'm constantly motivated by that. Career can be a tricky thing. I'm just going to flat out say it. I think that both of our careers are very white male predominant careers, whether it's
Yeah.
policy like you. And then for me, as being a lawyer, women came into a lot later than colored women. You probably have a lot to say about imposter syndrome, which both of us really feel and we talk a lot about.
Yeah, no, yeah. And I think saying that I'm in a decent place in my career, right? I did things that I've wanted to do for a long time, but I can't even sit here and just make it seem like it's been easy and I'm here. Yay. I am very happy. But it, like you said, there's like a lots of imposter syndrome being in a really male dominant world in our
Even though
careers.
I've seen you do that from your bachelor's to your master's, and you
Yeah,
still feel
it's
that way.
yeah, I mean, of course. I feel like this all the time, and going to this trip was really cool because being able to do something as a Mexican American, like who is a better person to go out there and be doing that? Like I'm so glad that they gave me that opportunity. I mean, it's something I earned, but it's still something that I'm like there needs to be representation, right? For you as a South Asian, being a lawyer, come on, like you are a perfect person for lens that you have to do some advocacy and fight for people's rights. And so I think representation, like they say it all the time, right? But I think it matters a lot.
No, I agree. I think it's really important, and a lot of times that people that get into immigration issues, which is what you deal with, and legal issues, which is what I deal with, it's usually
Yeah.
people of our skin tone. I'm just saying that people that need the help are usually people that don't understand the country, the system, the way other people that have maybe born and raised here understand. Having that representation, having people feel comfortable so that someone can actually understand their ethos, their emotions, their cultural aspects, their family lifestyles, which sometimes doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Being able to empathize in a level that someone that is not our skin tone, does not have the heritage we have, can't. They just cannot advocate for things they are not aware of.
Even a language barrier, I feel like for both of us, it's something we can help with. I speak Hindi and Urdu fluently, you speak Spanish fluently. And so there's probably a lot of times where you've had to be that person.
Going into this trip, I went into it with colleagues that work in Mexico with my same company. And so I don't know why. I assumed that they, or some, or one person knew English. They didn't know a word. Nobody that I met. I know Spanish, but I don't practice it every day. There's been points in my life where it's not as fluid as English is to me. I have to think about it. Or so going in there, and by the end, it was just so natural. And I'm really glad because had anyone else gone, like you need to know the language. It makes us much more marketable, yet there's still so much imposter syndrome, right?
Feel like you went on this Mexico trip and you can do so much and you're capable of so much, and it was your reminder, right? Of like who you are. You applied for something, you got it, you did it, you killed it, and then you come back to your regular work environment and you still feel like, damn, there's no respect here because I am minority.
Yes, I'm sure you did too, right? You can go and do something great or finish a project and you're like, I killed that. But then there's that like, okay, let's come back to the real world. What does the real world tell us? That we are never good enough. That's what I've constantly felt. Like I'm not smart enough. I can't articulate it. I look around and everyone's like, oh, I went to Harvard. I went to all these Ivy League schools. But I try to remind myself like my superpower is that I'm really passionate about my work and I have the lens that no one else can have because I am a Latina, a woman, and am very capable of if I don't know what I'm doing, I will figure it out.
Yeah, that's funny because that's exactly how I am. I'll figure it out before I go just ask someone and run for help. But again, that asking for help at work, I think it
No.
comes from a place of we might be looked down upon. You might feel that other people will ask for help without it being a reflection on who they are. But us asking for help makes us feel like, oh my God, we're incapable, we're stupid. All of their myths and all of their beliefs about us are coming true or what have you. And
Exactly. Yes. I mean, we've never talked about this. So it's interesting to hear you say it because I read an article about it. Long story short, basically what you said, we as daughters of immigrants, we have such a hard time asking for help. I do at work, I do in my personal life. Have you had that self-awareness like, hey, I need to be okay asking for help? Or where are you in that journey?
I feel like growing up, I always used to hesitate asking for help, like applying to
Yeah.
colleges. What does this mean? What is the universal application? What kind of stuff do colleges want to hear? How can I write this essay? I was kind of expected to figure it out, right? And I became that person for my little brother where I was like helping him once I went through it. And so maybe that just comes with having immigrant parents, and they tried wherever they
Yeah.
could. My mom was very involved with PTA and school stuff, and wherever she could be, she was totally involved. But with these things, like, I didn't have anyone. And I think that that really went into my adulthood, into my work life. And it's still something that I'm trying to unlearn. Sometimes I feel like people in my work, like, they over exaggerate the things that I achieved. And I'm like, wait, is it because they think that
That's
people like
interesting.
me are not capable of achieving such things? Or is it because they're actually celebrating it? So that dual struggle is constantly playing in my mind. I'm still struggling trying to figure that out.
It sounds like it could very well be what you're saying, or it could just come back to imposter syndrome.
Right.
Anything that you do, you have these second thoughts. And even once you accomplish something, you make up an excuse as to how you achieved it. But it's all like, I wasn't worthy, like I'm still not capable because of everything that we've
Are they
learned as
tripping? Are they like over exaggerating? I have this
yeah.
lawyer that I look up to at work, and they'll tell me, oh, X, Y, and Z was trying to figure this out forever and they couldn't, but you have the eye, Summer. You did so good. You did this. Wow. Thank you for being so helpful. In the beginning, I was like, do they just think I'm dumb? Like, do they think that they're telling me all this extra congratulations because they want to make me feel good? And then I was like, wait, why can't I take it as I actually am good? I went to school for 12 years plus, then I went to law school for another 3 years. I did my thing. I took this exam, passed in other states. And even my boss, he's really good at telling me, he's like, you are a lawyer, just not in Texas, but you are a lawyer. Why do you always forget that? And I'm sitting there like, I think of Texas as my self-worth, that if I pass this Texas exam, then it means that I'm a lawyer. But why does it not matter that I have passed the bar in so many other states? Even if I'm not practicing there, I'm still a lawyer.
And that's a good point, though, especially because Texas wasn't even a thought when you started law school or even
True.
during. It was really
Wow,
when
true.
you graduated, you were like, okay, let me just go to Texas. And so if anything, you threw yourself a curveball, but like, yeah,
And
you weren't
actually, it
even.
was 2 years after graduation that we moved to Texas.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
How do you think that for you in the environment that you're in, how have you managed to maneuver yourself?
I struggle a lot with imposter syndrome. I think that it's very hard to be a Latina in policy in DC. I struggle with it because of being really one of the only Latinas in the department. If anything, I think it might be the only one. I'm not sure. I know that you just feel out of place. I don't know about you. Like working from home if anything, been a little bit relieving because I don't have to put myself in a situation.
Do you feel
I'm
stronger
constantly
working from home because we don't have to realize the amount of comparison around us?
I think I feel stronger, but then there are days where I go in and, I do things and I kill it and it's empowering, right? Like you're going into DC and you're doing all of this policy work. But I think the way that it's maneuvered, you just talk to yourself. That's what I do. I pump myself up. I'm like, you got this.
Yeah. No, I do the
You
same
got
thing.
this.
So I think that coming from the same place where you're at, when I was in DC, I was always one of the 2 or 0 South Asian girls in the internships that I did. Demographics in Texas, once I came here, are just so different that I actually feel a bit less out of place, but still out of
Yeah.
place, if that makes sense, because there's no South Asian women in my office. But there are a lot of Latinas. There's a lot of African American. That makes a difference where I feel like I'm less different than the rest of the people that work around me, whereas I felt very different. When I went to law school in Florida, I was in this program, it was an in of courts, and I was probably the only person that was a different color. Even my mom came with me one time and she was like, wow, there's just you,
You told me.
yeah, and another chick that's like not white. And that was nerve-wracking.
Should empower you. You saying this, you
It
should feel
does.
so
It does now,
empowered.
but in the moment, I was so scared. I was just this
Yeah.
little girl. I felt like my voice changed. I'd be like, "Hi, how are you? I'm
Oh
Summer."
my
Like,
God, the
I
voice
changed.
change
The voice
is
change is so
ridiculous.
real. What is it?
I felt like I had to change even like, okay, Luz, let's straighten your hair so that you look a little bit more or less, how do
Put
you say
together.
it? get a little together, but my natural hair is crazy. It's wavy, it's frizzy. And so I would do that a lot. And I'm like, no, Luz, like, this is who you are. I think one of the ways you have to embrace who you are and you have to show up as who you are because that's how you got where you are.
If you think about it, for both of us, our job applications, well, probably job applications, we had interviews, but our master's, bachelor's, the programs, we were just kind of all on paper. It's our accolades and who we are that got us to where we are. And that's something to always remember and to be proud of. It's so easy to lose sight of that. But I don't know. I feel like imposter syndrome, it's going to take me another decade for this thing to go away because
Is it getting better? Is it getting better?
like it's getting worse sometimes. I will tell you why it's getting worse. Because I feel like personally for me, I went from being a law school student, things that I did, I was always an intern, I was always a student. Now it's like I'm a grown woman. And this is my really actually like first big girl job out of law school, right? But I had like a 6-panel interview. It was not easy. On top of that, I'm 4 months pregnant trying to bag this job before we moved. It was just a lot. I feel like I'm getting better, but on the flip side, every time I change jobs, when I have to start in a new environment, it kicks in again. Like I'm starting from scratch. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It 100. Yes, it makes sense. I mean, you're relearning everything. So if you felt imposter syndrome when you knew everything about the organization, you're definitely going to feel it when you transition to a new organization that you actually truly don't know anything about, that much because that's your first day, your first week, your first month. So I think it's normal.
Do you feel that way? You've had a more consistent job, right? From what I think.
Yeah, I mean, I've been and it's
on
the flip side. I've changed positions in my current job, but even if I've been in my same organization almost for 5 years, I still have imposter syndrome, even though I know a lot about it. I know my role. I don't know if it's ever going to go away. I think it's getting a little better.
You know what the very intriguing thing is that even though we're aware of it, it's so deeply rooted in us that we can sit here and talk about the fact that we have it, yet it's so hard to act upon it.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
In our
Yes.
like daily jobs and stuff. We can get off this right now. We're like, okay, yeah, we're worth it. We're great. Cool. Imposter syndrome, be gone. And then when we start work again and we go into the office, it'll just sink back in us.
Yeah, we can talk about it. Like you said, it could be something, I don't need someone to tell me what it is or, hey, be gone. It's not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah, it's
but
not.
I do think my journey with it has gotten better. I think that doing these things like a trip like this and just really challenging myself, I think that helps, but it's still there. Still
I want to
there.
know a little bit about your trip more. I just want to know, we talked about your tough moments, but what was one of your best moments? And did you view Mexico in 2 different ways? Because you took a trip to Mexico, a personal trip earlier this year, and now you took a work trip. You got to see 2 different sides of Mexico, right? So how did that contrast?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference to start off is the fact that the trip I took in April was with my husband. We were there for almost 2 weeks. We went to places we wanted to, very pretty cultural places. So that trip was for us. And the trip that I took with work, it was really for the people that don't have voices. And so I was really honored and glad to be able to walk up to them. And part of field work was I went around town, 2 different cities in Mexico, in the states of Chiapas and Oaxaca. And I went around really interviewing migrants, children, but mostly parents. And there was a point where it was very, very emotional because I was sitting outside with a big group of parents as they were watching their kids play behind me. And then they were like, hey, yeah, you can speak to all of us. I was like, well, I'm here to really listen to you all and learn about you and hopefully take these messages with me and advocate for everything you go through. The purpose for me here is just to learn and hear you guys. We were under this kind of tent area and then it started pouring and I wasn't allowed to record. I had my notebook and I was writing everything down and it started pouring to the point where I couldn't hear them. And it was really like, wow, it was kind of like an analogy, right? Like they are silenced in every way. Even nature silences them. So I think that was such an emotional moment for me.
I'm very proud of you. You inspired me all the time to be one of the most hardest working versions of myself, just to take myself to the next level, because you do that every day. So proud of you.
I'm proud of you. I don't know how you are a full-time mom and a full-time lawyer in your position and wife. You take care of so many things, and don't know if I would have the bandwidth to do what I do if I were a whole human mom right now, because I can't imagine. I'm really proud of you. I'm really proud of you, and you should be proud of yourself.
Thank you.
I love that we talked about the struggles and where we're at, because this is really real for everyone. And really looking forward to seeing where we go from here. And girlies that can relate, imposter syndrome, being the only Latina, South Asian in your organization, and kind of struggling with that and not knowing if you're the only one that feels like that. Trust me, you're not the only one. So thank you so much for tuning in. Please remember to subscribe to our channels, YouTube, Spotify, follow us on Spotify. We're on all the platforms, Apple Podcast. Just go ahead and look for us. We're on Instagram as well. So please go ahead and follow us. Don't forget, because we're going to keep doing this. Don't forget to follow us. Okay. See you next time.